even though Jack and Jesus said they were retired for years, Jay's been helping me behind the scenes all weekend, but he didn't want any credit for that stuff. And he didn't want anybody to call him up and talk to him about things. He just wants to be here playing and training. So I want to thank Jay for all of his help behind the scenes. Thank you guys as players. We need to thank all the sponsors. We couldn't do this without the sponsors. Everything's gone up in doing things. So I just would like to say thank you once again for everybody being here. Okay, I'm going to pass the mic over to Kristen now. She's going to talk to you guys next.
Hi, my name is Kristen Watts. For those of you who don't know me, I am the president of the board of USA Racquetball, and I want to say a huge thank you to Mike Coulter and War for inviting us out and allowing us to enjoy this amazing experience. This is my personal first experience coming to an outdoor racquetball championship, and we have had the best time. You guys know how to throw a tournament. So thank you so much. I am proud to be introducing some of our speakers in regard to the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame. And I am really proud that World Outdoor Racquetball is a part of USA Racquetball. What a fun time. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Cody Elkins. He will be introducing our first candidate, which is Cliff Swain.
Hi, my name is Cody Elkins. If you don't know me, I'm a top 30 player on the Pro Racquetball Tour, and I've known Cliff since I was 8 years old, and I've worked with him whenever I got the chance seriously for the last 5 years. Some may know Cliff is the guy who's finished 6 times as the #1 player in the world in indoor racquetball. Others may know him for the 2 pro outdoor titles in both singles and doubles, along with his many pro finals and semifinals appearances. Others here may know him as an opponent. Now, personally, I can tell you that me and him have played twice in practice. One time, I owed his whole family ice cream because I told him I would beat him, and I didn't score a single point. The other time, me and Cole Sendry, who's a fellow pro racquetball player, played him in doubles, and he was not playing with someone at our level, maybe like an elite player, and I can tell you, he aced me and Cole like 8 times combined before we were diving to get a serve back, yes, in doubles, and scraped by 15-14. And me and Cole scored 11 points on Jake and Sam Brenneback the same day, who are both top 15 pros, just to give you an idea of how good he was playing at 57 years old. So, a few others may know him as a coach, me being one of them. Now, Cliff definitely never taught me how to hit people in the head with a racquetball, but he did teach me how to control the speed when I do hit them. Only when deserving, of course. Where do we get started with Cliff as a coach? Now, I think he's the most underrated coach in the world, partially because of how much time he actually gets to spend with the guys he coaches. Also, Cliff is the type of guy to say to a top 10 pro in the world in indoors that their mechanics are flawed and he can help them. So when egos get involved, that's also why I don't believe he's as sought after as a coach as he could be. So when I was a C player and I started working with Cliff, within a year, I was beating mid-open players. One more year of coaching, probably like 6 hours in total, because if you know Cliff, he's the busiest guy on the planet. And I made Team USA at 17 years old in the 21 under division. I was scoring double digits on many top 15 pros, and I probably had the worst forehand at the time you've ever seen on the Pro Racquetball Tour. But Cliff, he taught me how to play correctly, and that's why I was so good. Now, the funniest part about Cliff is you would never know what he's done as a coach because he doesn't like to self-promote or show his face in front of a camera. When he was back in Minnesota, and he would beat Jake occasionally in practice, and Jake asked him how he did it. He told him he could help him. It was years down the line that Jake finally took Cliff up on his offer. And as you all have seen now, Jake Brenneback, after a few months of working with Cliff, had made about 10 semifinals in a little over a year period working with Cliff. He had made 3 prior in his entire career. He went all the way up to #1 in the world in indoors, which is pretty crazy. I can tell you that this was not with one mechanical change, just pure strategy alone. That also includes 6 finals appearances in a 2-year period when Della Rosa and Moscoso were both playing at the time. On top of that, after likely less than 10 hours on the court with Cole Sendry, he was taking Alex Landa, a former top 2 player in the world, 11-7 tiebreaker. In terms of pure short-term upside after working with Cliff, I've never seen anything like it, and I believe he's the best coach in the world at quickly transforming players. So when people say Cliff doesn't know what he's talking about or he doesn't know mechanics, I laugh because Cliff has a family and I've never been able to train with him for more than 2 days on end. Owasso, who's one of the best serves I've ever seen, and he's beating guys like Perea and Maria Vargas, who's the #1 women's player in the world, are the only two people who've ever spent extended period of time working with Cliff in a row. And I would likely not have even made open level without Cliff, and he's the reason I could take months off. I'm not kidding you, months off, with all the injuries I've had, and still compete at a high level, even pro sometimes, playing twice a week. I think Cliff deserves not only as a player, but as a competitor and a coach. The two other best players in the world of all time, Sudsy and Payne, will both say they learned from Cliff how to swing the racquetball. He has been an incredible mentor, and he's taught me not only to compete, but how to be a better person. That is not by accident, and I couldn't be more than proud to present him with this award to being in the Outdoor Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Cliff.
Can you come up, please?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm going to be super short with this because I'm not Mike Peters. I don't like to stand there and talk. You can't hear me, Mike? See, he knows how to work a mic very well, I'm sure. It is a kind of odd thing to accept this award. It's, I've heard all these speeches and people, you're supposed to come and talk about yourself, and I find that very difficult to do. I want to say that very, very much an honor to be inducted into the Outdoor Hall of Fame. I think the outdoor racquetball sport is the most important part of the game. I think if outdoor racquetball would become all that it could be, indoor racquetball would be much more successful, not the other way around. So what I would like to do here is thank a few different people and groups if I could. I took a few notes. First, the tournament directors. Because of tournament directors like Mike Coulter and Doug Gannams of the world, I have been super fortunate to be rewarded handsomely over the years and travel around the world, fly in an F-16, play in Europe, play in Asia. It's really just been an incredible life, and I know that I have been part of directing some tournaments, and it's extremely difficult. It's very thankless, right, Mike? People are, no matter how good the tournament is, sometimes people are still disappointed. So I really appreciate those guys, and Mike's here, so thanks, Mike. Appreciate it all. I mean, over the years, he ran great tournaments in Vegas, and now he does this, and without people who are willing to put that effort in, we'd be in tough shape. The second one is the fans. I was always super amazed that people would take their vacations, spend their money, travel, just to come sit there and watch us do what we would do. And we would do it for free in front of nobody. If I could play Rocky in front of nobody, I would play the same way, just as hard as I could. And to play in front of all the fans that were there at the US Open, say for example, a few thousand people, but on TV in front of millions, is the ultimate test, and really appreciate the fans that would do that. One of my favorite things to do at the US Open was, as they were filing in to come watch, there was a little spot where you could sit, and they wouldn't see us as we were getting ready to play, but I could hear them talking, and they were usually rooting against me. But I could hear the things that they were saying, like I hope Sudsy wins, or who they were betting on, and hear all their opinions. It was super cool and a huge honor to me that people would actually take their time and come fly in to see us do it. So I really appreciate. I know you guys didn't come here to see me play this weekend, that's for sure. I hope nobody saw me play this weekend, actually. Two of the guys actually that I'd really like to thank, I don't know if one of them's here, but the first one is Sudsy. So when he first came along, I was about 28 years old, and I had accomplished a bunch of the goals that I had set for myself. And I wouldn't say I was like dying to retire or anything, but I didn't know what I wanted to do something else maybe. And then when he came along and I saw the way he could play, he was 19 and I was 28, which was considered old at the time. I was contemplating doing something else, and then when I saw him and saw the way he played, I really loved the challenge. So he played for another, I played against him for another, 7, 8, 9 years before he got injured. And by that time I'm 35 or 36,
and he's done playing, and now I'm really done playing. So, you know, I think I had 1 or 2 tournaments left, and I played this tournament in Vegas that Mike Coulter ran. And second round, I get Kane in the draw. And I had watched him play, I think Jack Cusack the round before, or maybe third round, and Derek Robinson, who, you know, he demolished them both. And so I had to play this kid so I think at that time I was, I don't know, 35, 36, and he was about 18, 19, and that added another, I mean, obviously a monstrous challenge. So I do, as much as I love just winning, I also really, really enjoy the challenge. And that was a huge, huge challenge, and I stuck around for another 5 years because of it when I would have been done playing. So, you know, Kane's here, thanks, buddy. I don't thank you for some of the beatings, but I do thank you for being as great as you are. It's really, really great. Finally, if I could, how could I leave out my parents? Of course, they just instilled a work ethic in me and loaded me with confidence. They were never telling me things that weren't true, but they did. My dad never one time in my entire life said something negative to me, like that I couldn't do or that somebody was better than me. If I asked him something, he said, you know, if you think you should do that better, then learn how to do it better. But, you know, he never said there was something I couldn't do, and same goes for my mom. So they were so good to me that I realized that a big part of why I was able to play pro racquetball was because of the way they made me and raised me. So I was super determined to do everything I could possibly do to make them happy and make them proud. And probably my favorite thing about racquetball is that led me to my wife. And she's amazing, she's beautiful, and she made 2 of the greatest kids in the world, my son Liam and my daughter Aislinn, and I can't wait to get home to them. So thanks everybody, appreciate it.
You know, I heard a rumor that there are more than just the inductees to the Hall of Fame here. I hear there are current members of the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame. If you are a current member of the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame, would you raise your hand? And can we give a round of applause to our current Hall of Fame? Congratulations. Again, I have had so much fun. You guys really are an amazing crew, and I'm so glad to finally be meeting many of you. Our next inductee is Kevin Booth. And to introduce Kevin Booth, we have Rocky Carson. There he is, doing the slow walk up.
All right, can you guys hear me? All right, perfect, good. Yeah, ball on, guys. I think this is one thing we love about this sport coming out here is just how raw it is and how fresh it is for all of us. I started playing outdoors when I was 20, actually about 18 years old, and we were over at Golden West. I don't know if all you guys remember that. Before that, we were at Orange Coast College, and I know for the fact the guy who I'm introducing today was at all those courts as well. But I have so many amazing memories of just being on this court to being on the courts at Golden West, and even a few memories at Orange Coast College when I was 6 and under, watching my dad play before I was even in those tournaments and stuff. But I've been able to play against some of the best players in the sport, and I've never played a better doubles player than Kevin Booth on one of these outdoor racquetball courts. For myself, coming out here, I played on tour. Cliff was talking about it a little bit. Getting on tour, that was my job. I love being on tour. But coming out here, this was probably the most refreshing thing I could do. And my partners and I would always look at it and say, all right, let's put a game together, let's get ready for the tournament. And there was nobody better than getting Kevin Booth, and usually it was Mike Peters or whoever Kevin was playing with, and we'd get out here and ball at 100%. And I learned so much on how to play the game from Kevin Booth. And watching him break down a rally, break down a players, and taking all the top pros that have ever played the game and making them feel like they don't belong at times on this outdoor racquetball court. So let me throw a couple stats out there, and I'm going to hand the mic over to Kevin Booth today. 14 outdoor championships, scanning from mixed pro, men's pro, and age division championships. 10 men's pro finals with 5 pro titles. That's pretty impressive, pretty incredible. I don't know if anybody has those numbers, but Kevin Booth, congratulations on an amazing career, and I think it's time for you to speak.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Rocky. Rocky and I have battled a long time. Like you said, when he first started playing, I would get these crazy phone calls, from Mike Peters. Hey, and you guys all know Rob Hoff. Rob, are you here? I was hoping to see Rob. Rob wasn't just a great player, but he was also a supporter of the sport. And he put some furniture in my living room, and I'll explain that. I would get a call from Mike Peters, and he'd say, hey, Rob and Rocky want to play at Golden West. Let's get in a practice match. And Rob was generous. He would say, hey, every game you beat us, I'll give you $50. So I would come home with cash and put it in a jar, and my wife would call it the furniture fund. So it was great. She's like, oh, another $200, I get that on tomorrow. And it was great because we would play, and Rocky was this young guy. I'm quite a few years older than him. He'd get frustrated. He was a great player. But I knew he was going to school on me, and I got that. And I would tell Mike, hey, these guys are going to school on us too at the same time. Rob's paying for his education. Sure enough, after a while, I would, all of a sudden I realized, okay, now Rocky's on my heels. Oh, Rocky just beat us. You see all those little cash games we played? They're paying off now. So, and I'll explain a little bit later why I asked Rocky to introduce me, and it's mainly the respect I have for him as a person, as a family man, and the relationship we have now. But, I was hoping to see Brian here today, but I don't see Brian. Yes, okay. So Brian Hawks, who here remembers me butting heads with Brian Hawks in the 80s? Never, right? No, we got along great. Who here would have thought, if you asked any of you, including us, hey, in 30 years from now, you and Brian are going to be good friends, who would have said, oh yeah? Hell no, right? Hell no. Now, we're pretty good friends. And what I wanted to say, I was hoping Brian was here, and I could say to him, was that when I was voted in, he called me. I guess Mark Harding wanted to call, because I've been Mark for a long time. He was the stud doubles player when I was coming up. I played Brian a bit more, and I played Rocky even more. But Brian said, no, I'm calling him. I want to call him. And Brian was happy to call me and share that with me, and say, good job, you deserve it. And that was meaningful because, again, 30 years ago, we hated each other. Now Brian will tell you, hey, now we love each other. I'm like, whoa, okay. We're pretty good friends now, okay? Baby steps, man. But, no, Brian's a good guy, and it's kind of that way with a lot of you guys. We all butted heads out here. We were all fighting for the same $100 or whatever we were playing for. It wasn't about the money. We didn't make much money. This wasn't the indoor tour. We played outdoor racquetball because it's such a bitching game. It's so fun. There's so many shots, the weather, everything you have to deal with. It's so much fun. And a lot of us butted heads, including Rocky and I. But we always had that respect for each other, and now that's helped, blossom into a good friend relationship. I see him at the gym quite often. We're friends. We've been on the pickleball court, hanging out with the son, and so I see all these people here. I haven't seen a lot of them. Greg, I haven't seen. By the way, Greg, when I was thinking about who should be in, he's the first name that always popped in my head. I'm like, why isn't Greg Friesen? I'm like, come on. And then when I was told by Brian, oh, by the way, Greg's going with you, I'm like, perfect. That's apropos. So let me tell you a little something about Greg Friesen, okay? We're supposed to tell funny stories. I got a lot of really good funny stories, but I got to keep it PG. So the first time, Greg, I don't know if you remember this, I'm playing singles with you, and people didn't really know me. You'd come a little before me. We were playing Orange Coast College. It was a pro singles, and back then it was games to 21. Tiebreaker to 15. It was a little more brutal, remember that? And they remember the game we played, it was game to 21, win by 2, but you must be serving when you win by 2. Greg and I played for like 2.5 hours. It was 29-27, 30-28, and like 25-23. Because every time someone got up by 2, the other guy was serving. And the tournament director, I forget who it was, or maybe it was Brad Long, great guy. He's like, yeah, I don't think we'll ever do that again. Greg and I were like, yeah, that was a terrible idea. I don't know if you remember that, but that was Greg's a competitor, super competitive. He's got a really bright mind, super smart guy if you guys don't know him, beyond racquetball, but he was a student of the game. And the only other funny story I'll tell you is we used to play down at the beach for fun. And I would play against him once in a while, and his ex-wife was on the court. And I would have to tell her, slide all the way over the line so he can't find your backhand. Because Greg would punish that backhand. I mean, that was Greg. He came out to win. I don't care where you were playing. He came out to win, but he and I would always share ideas and talk about it. He was just a real student of the game. And I'm very happy you were here today, too. So congratulations to Greg. I see a lot of other people I haven't seen in a while. Ed Andrews. I haven't seen him forever. I'm not sure if Ed's still here. Hall of Fame indoor guy. He left. We talked for a little bit. Soon to be Hall of Fame outdoor guy. He and Dave Johnson took us out. Scott McMaster's and I out in the finals one year. When I was about 14, I went to Racquetball Santa Ana. Remember that place, anybody? Like 30 courts, the nicest indoor club in the world at the time. I'm like 15, this cocky little kid thinks he's pretty good. I get on the challenge course, finally my turn to play. I get on the court, and I win the first point or two. I'm thinking, yeah, I got this guy. I don't know who this guy is. I look up, it's 15-2, I'm walking off the court. What the hell just happened? This guy was waxed. And the guy taps my shoulder, he goes, that's Ed Andrews, he's the club pro, he plays on the pro tour. I'm like, okay, thank you, because I don't feel so bad. But anyhow, great guy, we ended up playing a few times in outdoor. I think once or twice in doubles, once in singles, I'll never forget. Back in the day when you didn't want to find Brian Hawks in the semifinals, you had to come in third place, so you're on the opposite side of the draw. So that semifinal match, the third place match, was important. I don't know if you guys remember that, but so I'm playing Ed Andrews, and Ed's like, you know, I don't know. He was just such a laid back guy. He goes, let's play one game to 11. I'm like, why are you getting in my head? I'm like, why don't I play one game to 11? He's like, okay, one game to 15. And I think it was a game, it was like one game only to 21. I'm like, no, you're messing with me. We're playing to 21. So I get to 11, he's got 9. He's like, Kevin, you would have won. We get to 15, he's got 13. I said, Kevin, you would have won. Now I'm thinking, oh, I'm screwed. Now I'm going to lose the 21. Anyhow, I eked it out, and he laughed about it. He thought it was hilarious. I wish he were still here. Great guy. Incredible player. He was the only guy. I saw one time they did the Hall of Fame shot, best Hall of Fame shots in racquetball. Backhand splat. You know, actually, it was just splat. Ed Andrews could splat it from 15 or 20 feet back and make the ball roll out on the front wall. I don't know how the hell he did that, but he had the most incredible splat ever. The guy was an incredible player. Seen a lot of people here. Steve Kunis, good to see you. Ex-national champion, should also be in. Solises, I've known him forever. Greg, obviously, Andy's not here, but I saw Andy Sr. And quite a few others of you. It's great to see you. I wish there were more people out here because that would mean the tournament's stronger. Hopefully it'll be a resurgence. Thanks, Mike, and everybody for picking up the tournament. You know, kudos to Jeff and Jay for running the tournament for so long. Yeah. Hey, you guys are doing a great job here, though. So what do I want to talk about? Again, back to rock. Well, first, let me talk about outdoor racquetball. I started playing early 80s. I was probably 20, 21. I was really good in high school. No one could touch me in outdoor racquetball, but I didn't know anybody was really playing outdoor racquetball. One day I'm riding my beach cruiser by the courts on 56th Street, and all of a sudden I hear crack, crack, crack. And you know what that means, right? Someone's pounding a flat ball. Trying to see what this is. I ride my bike around the back, and there's Mike Genevieve, Dave's older brother, great player, and a guy named Rich Abrigo. Unless you're really probably way back in the day, you don't remember Rich character, but anyhow, Smiley, you know Rich. But anyhow, I end up running back to the house because we were staying at a beach house at the time. Coming back with my racket, I get in a game with Rich. We win a game. I think I hit one between my legs, got lucky, and hit a winner. And he's like, "Hey man, you want to play a tournament next weekend at Golden West?" I'm like, "There's tournaments?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to play." I'm like, "So what division are we in?" I'm thinking, I'm like, at the time, a B8 player. And he goes, Open, man. We're playing open. Okay, maybe I'm an open player. So I think we drew Mike Genevieve and his partner, and we got waxed. I'm like, I'll go back and play the Bs for a little bit and work my way back up. So that's what I did. And back in the day, if you guys, unless you're older, you don't remember, but Martha, Greg, you guys remember Orange Coast College back in the day, 16 courts, I think it was, packed. 2 weeks before, every day, packed. I remember playing pro singles, 46 players in the pro singles. It was a blast. And then, unfortunately, it moved to Golden West College. It was a great location. Coast was better, but hey, Golden West College was great. It was packed, and we ended up here, which was fantastic. But, I think of all the ex-players I played with who were great. Matt Moore, Chuck, I think about, I won a lot of B terms with Matt, and then I moved into the Open Division. Scott McMasters, who I think should be acknowledged as a fantastic outdoor player. He got me to 3 finals in a row, and unfortunately ran into Clubber and Brian. I think it was Brian and Dave Johnson, and then Ed Andrews and Dave Johnson. 3 close matches, we lost them all, but Scott was a really good player. And then, of course, Tim Ring. Some of you know Tim Ring. When he was a beast on the right side, and I didn't even have to play that hard. I remember one time in Nationals, I think we beat Greg, and it might have been Mike, I could be mistaken. And I remember Greg walking over to Tim and saying, "You were the best right side player I've ever played against." So now that, from what I understand, we're all going to be voting for inductees in the future, I can kind of tell where I'm going with who my votes are for. There's a lot of players that need to be in and acknowledged. And off the top of my head, you got Cunith Medina, you got Belmonte brothers, you got Barker Chadwick. God, I haven't written down the list here, but off the top of my head. Let me look at this, because I don't. Andy Solis. Hey, Greg's in. Why is Andy? He won a couple. And Greg, I don't even remember. I probably did this on the slide, but I remember the first time you squeaked one out against us. I walked over to your brother, because you were the left side player at the time, and everybody acknowledges, hey, he's the dominant player on the left. And I walked over to Andy and I said, hey, Andy, you guys would not have even come close to beating us had you not played. Andy played lights out. So Andy, another underrated player. His brother dumped him early on and moved on. But Andy's a great player. I wish he was here. I think people will us, obviously, Rocky Carson. I mean, hello. Who's the number 2 most decorated player in the history of outdoor hockey? Hello. Okay. Rob Hoff, not only for a player and a guy who won some tournaments, but he was a supporter of the tournament, and he never advertised it. He would give the tournament directors cash to give out. I mean, I don't know if I should share this, but one night I get a call from Mike after winning, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, having a celebratory beer, what are you doing? He's like, get in your car. We got to go up to Rob's house. He's got something for us. So he would pay the winners a little extra money because he always felt that, there's not quite enough money. So, but he never told anybody. He would always support this tournament. He would get Rocky out. Rocky was a professional player. He would make sure he'd support Rocky to get out and go through his training. But I think once he got hooked, he'd have done it for free. But I didn't want to, so it was great Rob was around, right? I really wish he was here today. The other people I can think of, it kind of hits the list, but there's a lot of other players, and from what I hear, they're going to start inducting people that have won nationals, and there's quite a few you guys probably haven't heard of before. Anyhow, back to Rocky. Why did I ask him? Mostly because we become friends. I competed against him a lot. We always had respect for each other. I always would tell people would say, you're always calling hinders. I go, have you ever noticed when I play Rocky, we don't call hinders? I said, I could play in a phone booth with that guy, and we wouldn't call a hinder. And that's how we felt. It was always an aggressive, good game. We learned each other's way we'd play. And we would butt heads, don't get me wrong. We would argue and not be happy with each other. And I got the most of him at the beginning, but at the end he started getting the most of me. And I know he beat me at least the last time I played, probably the last couple times. So he's been one up on me for 12, 15 years. So today, I get to go one up on Rocky. So that's the other reason why he's in. But anyhow, he'll be the next on my list, and if he doesn't go next year, something's going on here. But anyhow, I want to thank everybody for coming out, supporting the game. The outdoor crowd's the best. The Peanut Gallery's the best. I would catch a lot of you-know-what from the Peanut Gallery. I get it. I wasn't always the guy you were supporting. But I'll never forget the one year that I think Tim and I lost in the semis. So we're like, hey, man, it's our turn to drink beer and sit in a beach chair back there, which we did. Tim started tying one on. He's like, dude, Because the peanut gallery is way more fun than playing. He was having so much fun ripping everybody. I'm like, it's pretty fun. I'd still rather be out there and drink beer after. But the peanut gallery is the best. Indoors is fun. Don't get me wrong. I was a pretty good indoor player. I liked it, but you basically had 4 or 5 shots to hit. A lot of guys out here quickly realized there's like 20 shots I never even thought of considering hitting. I would love it when somebody would come up thinking I'm pinching the corner and hit a 2-wall ball over their head in the reverse corner. I'd be like, what the hell? I'm like, hey, you gotta go get that. You know? And it was so fun. I mean, there's a lot of indoor guys that would come out and play, and some of them came out, and don't get me wrong, they're number 1 in the world, number 5, whatever. They would come in with an ego, and I get it, but they would come out here thinking they're gonna clean house. And I'll think of one guy, you know, came out one time to play singles. We were at Golden West. He drew me like first or second round, and I had him dizzy. He didn't know what was going on. Just killing him. He was making comments about I'd kill him indoors. And I'm like, hey man, I get it. You will. I go, unfortunately, you're playing outdoors, and you got about 5 minutes left. You know? And so some of the indoor guys would do that. They come out here, and usually you don't see them at second time. But then there's people like Rocky and other players, Alvaro, Daniel, Cliff. People come out and go, man, this is so much fun. It's a breath of fresh air. I don't have to hit the same amount of shots I'm hitting all the time indoors. It's a variety. And those guys came out without attitudes. They came out to learn, have fun, and those guys played for a long time. Speaking of which, I left off Alvaro and Daniel. They should definitely be in. But anyhow, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. It's an amazing game. Keep playing. Get your kids playing. Good to see all the good faces I haven't seen forever. I'm sorry if I forgot your names, but I'm getting old and it's been 25 years. Thanks to Rocky, thanks to Brian, thanks to the committee. Let's introduce the next guy.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Just to clarify, because I just got some great intel from Brett Elkins, you do have to be 50 or above to be considered for the Hall of Fame. And I don't want to disclose Rocky's age, but he's much younger than me, and I'm 50. When he's 50. And to that note, please, if you guys have recommendations and nominations you want to make for the Hall of Fame, please reach out to the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame Committee, headed up by Brett Elkins. Shoot him an email, a summary of why you think Rocky on his 50th birthday ought to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and put them up for the Hall of Fame induction for next year. So don't forget to do that. With that, I would like to recognize Greg Freeze as our last 2026, no order, no reason he's last. Last inductee into the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame. And Mike Peters, if you would come up and do the introduction.
I'm going to move in the shade. See, Cliff, when you talk really close to the microphone, people hear you way better. So this is a surprise, but we're actually, Greg and Kevin, come on up. They're going to play singles. Cliff's going to ref it. So come on up. Okay. First of all, I can't believe you guys gave me a microphone again. Mike Coulter, this must be your worst nightmare. Do not blame Greg, please, because he originally asked Brian. I was the second choice. I can take it. I first met Greg Freeze in 1987 or 88 at the Mammoth Lake Snow Creek Athletic Club tournament, which some of you guys may or may not know. I figured. But I would literally watch this guy bounce a ball and then run up the sidewall. This is an indoor racquetball. Run up the sidewall and to hit his serve. Now, I don't know if it was legal. I don't know if he checked to see if it was legal, but he continued to do it. It was very impressive. He loved the high altitude of Mammoth, and he actually hit some, you know, most people hit a 3-wall shot. Greg could hit a 4-wall shot with the altitude, so it was very impressive. At that point, this is 88, 87, 88, he was already kind of in the middle of his height of his racquetball skills. And in 1980, when he was either 21 or 22, we'll have to verify that, he beat Bobby Stalker, who had just been in the final the previous year. This was kind of Greg's coming out party for outdoor racquetball. So that started his 27-year outdoor racquetball career. In singles, he had a nearly 20-year span of being in the quarterfinals or better at nationals. I don't know if that's been topped or met but it's an incredible record. He did win the singles title in 1990, taking down one of our current announcers, Craig Clubber Lane, in the final. I'm sure Craig's glad I brought that up. His last competitive singles match came in 2006 at the age of 47 against who else but Rocky Carson, where he lost a tough battle 15-14, 15-14. Those scores are approximate. Talking to Chris McDonald just a couple days ago, he told me that he might have been the one who helped Greg into retirement, but not in a good way. It was 2006, round of 16. Jesus, you were there, you and I were playing together. We happened to be playing against Greg and Chris, and for whatever reason, Jesus and I decided to lob continually, not Greg, but Chris, the tennis player, where he proceeded to skip probably 15 balls in a row, much to Greg's chagrin. And that's what caused Greg to probably give up the sport that he loved. Also, he moved to Oregon at the time. In doubles, he and his partner Dan Southern won the title in 1994. He also teamed with Brian Hawks in 1991. And if you go on YouTube, you can see the match. You can see Greg Freeze with a mustache. All you have to do is search Greg Freeze, Brian Hawks, Florida, 1991. And you can determine for yourself if that qualifies as a mustache. Brandon, where are you? Yes? Okay, all right, Brandon says yes. After a tough loss in the 1996 Outdoor Nationals with Dan Southern, I somehow convinced Greg to partner up with me, and the first year we made it all the way to the men's finals, where we ran into Dave Genevieve and Rick Sandello. Some of you may remember that Dave got a bad injury midway through the match and was given way too much time to recover, in my opinion. And when they came back and proceeded to start the match again, I think Dave lob served me 3 in a row that I proceeded to skip. When he did the 4th one, I was playing left, so it makes a little more sense, right, that they skipped. For whatever reason, Greg came over from the right side, intercepted the shot, hit a perfect pinch roll in the left corner and said, "That's how you do it." And I thought, wow, I've never seen Greg mad at me before, but that was one of the few times. There was one other time I don't have time to talk about. Or do I? He was also known, wait. Hang on. Greg was also known for his dive serve, which he did one time when he was introduced in the final, in the 2000 finals against Brian Hawks. They introduced him, he came flying, it was as if he would come flying around this corner, threw the ball out, actually it was that corner, came this way, threw the ball out, and did a diving serve that he rolled out in the backhand side. It was very impressive, very unlike Greg, but it was awesome. Greg and I actually won one championship together. It was the 2001 California State Championship. That was a long time ago. He is also known for sniffing a ball to determine whether it was in or out. Greg, can you verify that? I mean, why the F were you sniffing the ball? How does that, anyway. And then he was famous for licking his finger and marking on the court to show you exactly whether the ball was in or out, whatever was most in his favor, I'm assuming. He was a tireless competitor and a great strategist, and he could literally beat you just by outthinking you. And finally, yes, there's an end to this, Greg and I teamed up for one other title that I debated even mentioning, but I have to say it because it was the only gold medal I have ever won in that other sport. But there's room for all sports, guys. Can't we all get along? So thank you for that, Greg. That's a great memory. I am proud to call him a one-time partner and a full-time friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Greg Freeze. Come on, Greg.
Very Metro. We used to have a different name for that. It was Metro in the day. Hey, I tell you, most of my memories out here were losing to Brian Hawks in different levels of the divisions. Semis, quarters, finals, didn't matter. I used to love my friends telling me, "Hey, I got some money on you in this tournament. This is going to be great." Why would you do that? I've lost to him every single time. Why is it going to be different this time? And sure enough, I never beat him at anything. Except the other day, I was on the phone with him, and he said, "Do you remember one time we were at this Echelon camp, and we had this competition to dive for a ball and try to catch it before it bounced twice?" That's the only time I ever beat Brian Hawks.
And it's kind of sad, but that's my big victory. But we did have that one time together in Florida. There was one year when there was going to be 2 outdoor nationals. And so Brian and I said, let's go over to Florida and try to make it so there's just one. And quite an event, and it's a little different playing there. Their courts were a little more uphill than we're used to. Here, these courts seem pretty flat. There, it seemed like you were hitting uphill. And the cement here is nice and smooth, and balls bounce normal. And out in Florida, they put holes in the cement, and the balls bounce all kinds of ways when they hit the ground. It's wild. But it's nice that over the years, the sport became more than just what we saw here in California. Players started to show up to the Nationals from other places where outdoor was played. I found out later in life people were playing in places like Michigan, where you'd think, boy, it's awfully cold in Michigan. How could they even have an outdoor sport there of racquetball? And they do. And some of these places put little quarter ceilings up there, and that was actually the fun part is we started our own tour, just people together. We said, let's go play all these different places. And we show up at Santa Ana College and Orange Coast College, and we went out into Buena Park and played, went into LA. And I started to realize I was basically a traveling gang member for this game called racquetball. And what was nice about the traveling gang is we played the games, and because they were there at the parks playing with their courts. And they were their courts, but the one thing that they did and respected was you were there to play ball, and they didn't care that it was about gang activity in their life most of the time. What they enjoyed was you got a good game of pickleball or handball if you had to. Sometimes you'd show up and they didn't want to play racquetball, and so you set your racket down and you go play handball with the group. So it was an awful lot of fun. And to me, that was my first tour in racquetball, was traveling along everywhere. And I think I met a lot of people from a lot of different places, all over California, basically. At one point, Mike Martinez was here one day. I was playing some indoor, and I said, I'm having trouble learning this indoor game. And he says, well, you're playing all the tournaments in California here, Southern California. You got to go to Northern California. And that's where I met some of the indoor players who were playing in the amateur circuit at the time. And we had a lot of fun, and we learned how to play the game. And eventually, I followed Brian Hawks and decided I'd try to play this indoor pro thing. And went inside and really just got my butt kicked over and over again. But I had some fun playing for just a tiny moment indoor on the pro tour. Never amounted to much, but it was fun. And that's when I realized I really was an outdoor player. And the sport out here was more, we learned how to hide our beer in the trash cans, as I was mentioning to somebody earlier today, out of Santa Ana College, because, if the police came by, we didn't want them to think we were out here drinking. But, it was more of a party sport. People showed up and brought their families and chairs, and it was a whole afternoon activity. And I wish the sport would have gone farther than it did, or further. And today, it seems like it got a whole lot smaller than the heyday. And so, as Mike Peters may have mentioned, I kind of hopped on another sport, hitting the ball around made of plastic. I don't know what they call the thing, but it's an interesting sport. And then just a couple of months ago, I went down to South America and started hitting another ball around in a somewhat indoor court, but it's outdoor, and they call it paddle or padel here. And it's a lot like outdoor racquetball in a lot of ways. It's a paddle, and when I started, the paddles were kind of small. They were the little bandito was a tiny paddle, and then in 1990 when I played the singles, we were kind of at the intermediate size racket. And then now, these things and the ball, everything's just so fast. It's amazing how anyone could keep up with the speed that everyone is out here doing it. But anyway, I'm glad that I had a chance to play with, in my 27 years playing the pro amateur outdoor, I'm glad I had a chance to play with basically almost all the legends that we've had in the game. And it's my greatest opportunity to thank the sport for all the years it gave me, keeping me from going to a real job for many years. But eventually I finally had to get a real job, and that took me away from the sport for a lot of years, and it was 2006 when I had my last chance out here with Rocky. And I realized, I'm just too broken down of a horse to compete with this anymore. But I do remember playing Rocky in that Northern California circuit that I ran, and it was always fun to have his dad saying, you got to be able to beat this old guy. He's just diving around saving the balls. You got to get out there and compete with it. And Rocky sure figured that out after that, and became, in my mind, one of the great legends out here in outdoor racquetball as well. So when he hits 50, with the new rules of the game, he'll be certainly inducted in. But thank you very much.
Again, I want to thank everybody for what an amazing tournament. I am so happy that World Outdoor Racquetball is an affiliated partner with USA Racquetball, and I look forward to attending many of your tournaments. I hear Beach Bash is the amazing thing, so I already have those Beach Bash dates over there on the banner on my calendar to go out and see what that is also. So very excited to see that. Please, for Greg and Kevin, don't forget your banners. But before we take the banners down and allow them to take them home, if we could have all members of the World Outdoor Racquetball Hall of Fame who are here today go over by the banners of Greg and Kevin, and there will be photo opportunities over there so that we have pictures of all of our Hall of Fame members, including our new ones, and the banners. We will now move on with our next CPRT match, and I am going to give this over to Lou to get those players on the court. Thank you again, everyone.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's go. Congratulations to Greg, Cliff, and Kevin, great competitors on the court. Kick my butt. Oh, my ears growing up. All right, so we got Rocky and Jesus versus Kane and Chris right here. CPRT final.